All right, thanks for tuning in to the end of the official end of the 2019 baseball season on Prime Sports Baseball, Prime Sports Radio Network, and for the first time ever, I can end the season by saying the Washington Nationals are the champs.
Congratulations. Let me be the 733rd person to congratulate you on your wonderful accomplishment that I was
Fan
lucky enough.
accomplishment.
Yeah, fan accomplishment. Yes, you worked very hard too.
Yes, I did.
But I was able to celebrate 3 seasons ago. I know what it feels like, and I'm happy for you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scotty Z. And yes, it was 3 years after your celebration. Not as intense as yours because you had the whatever it was, the jinx.
108-year drought.
Yeah,
108
the
year drought.
drought, the jinx, whatever you want to call it.
108 years,
Yeah.
sir.
The Nationals, as an organization, they were 0 but it was 50 years. So, and that was the funny thing. It was exactly 50 years that the Montreal Expos came into existence in 1969, and for the area, I think what was it, 1924? I guess the Senators. Yep.
Senators, yeah.
So
Version one of the Senators.
okay, version one. So
Because the Senators left for Texas, and then the Senators left for Minnesota.
okay,
So,
interesting. So they had a couple of
so
different babies.
yeah, like assume the Browns right now leave to Toronto or something. That would be the Browns version two,
Okay.
because the Browns version one, you know,
Good game last night.
Raven.
Congratulations.
Sure was. It's just always nice to see Tom fear for his life when he's run away from a Raven linebacker.
Hey,
It's
well,
always
you know it happens every few games a year, and you got him the one game this Sunday night, and then
Wait a minute.
that'll be it.
Let's not take away what the Ravens defense did, but yeah, Ravens defense played very well.
Okay, sure. All right, so let's wrap it up. And a crazy
Yeah, let's talk
series,
baseball.
absolutely nutty series with the home team 0 for 7. That's
Um,
crazy.
Never going to happen again in our lives. It's in any sport, in any professional sport. It had never happened in 1,420 series combined with the MLB, the NHL, and the NBA with the best of seven. It'll never happen again. There's just no way. It's just the odds are just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was, and so many factors that came into it. That whether it was the Nats having whatever it was, 10 days off, which didn't affect them because they won in and won those first two games. Uh, Being able to beat Garrett Cole, being able to beat Verlander. Uh, the thing that disgusted me the most was Corbin losing to the bullpen by committee. That
Urquidy started.
Yeah, but that
He
was a
pitched
bullpen. That was a
five
bullpen by
innings, five
committee.
and a.
If he would have given up a
True.
run or two, he would have been out in
That's
three
true.
innings earlier. So
That's true.
that's bothersome to me. But at least he did make it appear that it was a regular starter situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tell you what, if I'm a local National fan, that would have really made things a little bit more crazy to go to the
Yeah.
games, to lose all three
I
games,
know.
and then still win the series.
I know a good decent amount of people who went to at least two, and I know like three or four who went to all three. So, I mean, in the end, they're happy, but like, come on, you pay all that money to go to those 3 games, and come on, give me one. I'll just satisfy with one,
Yeah,
and
it didn't
it's,
work.
just,
Yeah, and then
it's
and then you get
unbelievable.
Scherzer's injury, which
Yeah, and I thought that was going to be the nail in the coffin. I didn't know. I mean, it was funny when they were just talking about like after you guys won Game 6, they're like, "Yeah, you got Scherzer going tomorrow." I'm like, "Are we going to just ignore the elephant in the room that he couldn't put his clothes on the day before? Like, we're just going to assume he's good to go?" But I mean, he they said the cortisones felt good and he was good to go. I don't know how he's feeling today. He's probably a little hungover still, but he's it was unbelievable.
yeah,
It was unbelievable. I mean, unfortunately, there's no bloody sock, to like showcase it in like 20 years. Everybody talks about the bloody sock. Well, they're not going to say, "Hey, remember the time that Scherzer couldn't put his clothes on and then pitched, in Game 7?" Then you're not going to hear that. But he deserves equally as much praise, if not more, if indeed he was that injured, which I assume he had to have been.
yeah, I think the way that they constantly talked about it, I think they could have, they could have, if they would have handled it in a different way. Because my first instinct when I heard it, the very first thing that in my head was, "Oh, he's not hurt." They want him to pitch Game 7. There's just no way he's hurt. This is just. But then his press conference, and I mean, they just went to the extreme that there's no way that they were going to turn around. And then
Well,
2 days later, you're going to hear, "Oh yeah, they were just lying to everybody."
so far not, but I mean, also he was throwing, in the bullpen of Game Six. He was lurking around and throwing. So I, I can't imagine that you could go from being that hurt to totally fine and able to, forget pitching an inning, pitch, successfully for 6, 7 innings.
I don't know.
I don't
I don't
know.
know because it did seem
I don't
to
know.
be too perfect of a situation. See, people were
That's
looking
why
at
it's
it.
a bloody
People
sock.
were
It's the bloody
people,
sock version
yeah, people
too.
were thinking about it as the worst thing that could happen. I was thinking about it as, oh, that's perfect because the way they were going at home, they weren't gonna win anyway. So what were you gonna do in Game 7? You were gonna trot out Sanchez, and then that could have been a disaster.
But at the same time, you've got to be thinking, I could win a Scherzer start in DC. We haven't had that yet in the series. I could win a Scherzer start in DC. Then I still have Strasburg for Game 6. We don't even need a Game 7. That's why none of it makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Well,
It all worked out for you
yep.
guys in the
And that's all
long
that
run.
matters.
And in the reverse, Garrett Cole didn't come in Game 7. He warmed twice. For somebody to warm twice and not come in, I mean, I've read all the stories about you didn't want him coming in the middle of an
Yeah, I
inning.
know.
They probably took Greinke out too early. He made one bad pitch the entire game, and they took him out. And I don't know. Again, just it's over with. Congratulations to you, but I wasn't so sure that the Astros managed that game correctly.
Yeah, I look. You understand where Hinch was coming from, but no matter what the situation happened in the 7th or the 8th, under no
Well,
circumstances should he have not pitched in the ninth.
if he could have pitched, unless he was, I can't pitch. I'm worried about my arm. I don't
Oh
want
yeah,
to
but that wasn't
pitch.
the reason.
But that wasn't the reason because he warmed twice. I understand if he warms up the one time and he's like, "Oh, I can't do it." But if
Oh
he
yeah, he
warms
was fine.
twice, he's ready
Yeah,
to go. And also, don't forget that Will Harris is the one who allowed a bunch of runs in Game 6, and for them to turn to him, I mean, what they expect was going to
yeah.
happen?
He had his only game of the postseason where he allowed a run in Game 6, and then he comes out in Game 7 again. Even though Hinch
To face the same
And
batters.
even though Hinch had said to the media that if anybody needs a break, it's Harris.
Will Harris.
All right, but here, even if you get by the whole 7th, 8th thing, or 7th inning, in the 9th, when you start the inning new, it's 4-2.
You
I
gotta go,
was
Cole.
scared to death about a 2-run lead and bringing anybody in other than Corbin, Scherzer, and Strasburg. And if that would have been a 2-run lead, that would have made the situation so much more stressful for Hudson. And they gave the Nats 2 extra runs by not pitching Cole in the 9th.
Gift
Yep.
him.
And that's so. Even
Well,
if you want to give him a break,
He could
on the
he
7th
could have
inning,
pitched the
he
eighth.
could have
He
pitched
could
the
have
8th,
pitched the
and he
eighth.
could have pitched the
He
9th,
could have pitched the
and
eighth.
the 9th.
And then in the eighth was going into the eighth. I believe was still 3-2. Going into the eighth.
Yeah, and that's the thing that that's where all your second guessing comes from. And you know what? When the Dodgers, when they kept what's his name in the ex Kelly,
Jansen?
when they kept
Oh,
Kelly
yeah.
in,
Joe
I
Kelly.
couldn't
Yeah.
believe that they weren't bringing Jansen in when the bases were loaded.
Yeah.
He didn't even take him out after Kendrick hit the home run.
Yep. Look, in game 7, unless a player tells you I can't go, you got to play your best players in the biggest situations. It's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. That's like not playing LeBron in a 2-point game with a minute left. It just doesn't. It doesn't make
Well, that's
sense.
why my point was that if you're going to win a championship, you're going to need to either. I mean, you got to outcoach the other guy, either by doing great moves or making sure the other guy does the bad, questionable moves, and you don't.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what happened
Yeah.
to the Nats against the Dodgers and Houston.
Yep. No, that's right.
And then they
That's right.
get the breaks, whether it's Ryan Zimmerman's broken bat in the bottom of the eighth, down 3-1 to Milwaukee with two
Sure.
outs that kept the drive
Yep.
going. The misplayed on the ball that Soto hit to bring in the extra run against Milwaukee. There's so many little things that used to happen to the Nats that
Yeah.
happen to the
That
other
would go the
teams.
other way. Yeah.
And that,
Oh, I mean, the before Game 7, MLB Network, I was watching the pregame show, showed a wonderful montage that I'm sure every Nationals fan who was watching was just sick to their stomach of them blowing of them blowing elimination playoff games in the eighth and
I
ninth innings.
know.
Hey, I mean, the Cubs, the Game 5 against the Cubs was, the big one that I remembered. And so
Was that the year
the extra,
after the Cubs won the series?
yeah, that was
Yeah.
17.
Okay. Yeah. So
So.
yeah, that was it. Just shows you that you have to get everything going for you, especially
And they did.
especially this team. It's sort of like they kind of remind me of like how the Mets won in '86, where they had a bunch of personalities.
Well,
They won some weird.
well, wait a
No, I'm
minute.
just saying they won some weird close games, but then they never won again. And you look back.
I'm sure their fans will take very kindly to you reminding
Yeah,
them.
and then you look back.
With Carlos Beltran going to turn it all
Yeah.
around.
So that's but I guess my point there is that I'm not so sure. See, a team like Houston wins, you expect to win the next year. You expect to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
This particular Nats group with all of the old guys that were such a key
Nope.
part, and we're going to get
This was
into
it.
free agency in just a minute, but with Rendon and Strasburg, one or both may not be there. It's just
this was it.
This was it. It's not if it's going to happen again. It's probably going to be another couple of years down the road.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you guys were losing in all 5 elimination games that you played in, and you won the World Series. So
I tell you,
that's that. There's just so many. I mean, this is the cool thing about baseball is every game, even the regular season, spring training, and they all have their own weird stories. There's all this stuff. Every World Series, even a sweep, has all these crazy numbers. This one, again, just a great series full of the craziest stats. And as baseball fans, we have been treated, and we are probably taking for granted how good the last 3 World Series have been.
yeah, and well, really, you can go. You
4.
can,
3 of the last 4.
well,
3 of the last.
actually, if you
Sorry.
just think about
Last year's was fine.
still, you think about even over the past decade of being able to get the Red Sox winning a championship, the Cubs winning a championship, and some of these other great.
The Bumgarner pitching Game
Yeah,
7.
We've definitely been treated to a nice run in general.
Very lucky. Yeah, and look, I mean, we might get 5 duds in a row. We could get 5 sweeps. 5. It could have 5 series like your series against the Cardinals. You never know, but we've been lucky.
Yeah. And so we'll see how that goes. I was at least the thing that I wanted was that if I could pick a team to win a championship, I'm glad it happened to this group in the way that they did it, because as a fan, you're proud to have your team battle back the way that they did. It's something you'll always remember. They may not be the sexiest team, as a fan.
No.
They may not have done it the best way as far as 110 wins and domination, but just the way
You don't need to.
in the way in which they won, it's so historic that it makes you so proud, and it was all worth it.
Yeah, and remember going into the postseason, this was one of the first times in a long time that you've had 3 100-win teams in one postseason, and none of them won the World Series.
And Nats beat 2 of them.
And that's beat 2 of them.
So that was pretty cool. And what surprised you the most about Houston, on Houston's side, about how, just for them not winning, what surprised you?
I mean, what surprised me the most, I guess, is that Garrett Cole lost that first game and allowed 5 runs. I mean, the dude hadn't allowed more than 3 runs since May 22nd. I mean, he hadn't lost a game since May 22nd. That's, I guess, the biggest surprise to me, and that really set the tone. Remember, we had our preview show, and what did I say? I said, for you to win this series, you gotta at least win one of the two games against Cole and Verlander, and hell, you won them both.
Yeah, they won 3 out of 4.
And how about Verlander just being like the worst World Series pitcher of all time?
Yeah, I mean, record-wise, yes. I mean, it wasn't awful, but for a guy
No,
that you
but
expect
for a
bigger
guy
and better
who's
things.
probably going to win the Cy Young,
Yeah.
I mean, assuming we don't take playoff into the
Which they
consideration,
don't.
because if they do, they say they don't, but who knows? So it's going to be Verlander. I mean, people are going to go crazy for Cole.
Well, look,
but,
if Rendon wins
yeah.
if Rendon doesn't win MVP, you'll know they don't.
Right. Well, because I mean, how could you not have it be Bellinger or Yelich? Even though Yelich missed a whole month, but he's still his numbers
Yeah, Bellinger,
through
I
his
can't give it
five.
to Bellinger. I'd much rather give it to Yelich. Bellinger.
Well, yeah, I mean,
come on, you're telling me that the Dodgers wouldn't have won the division without Bellinger? Come on, they were like 18 games up on the second place team. They didn't need Bellinger to win that division. Come on.
All right. Last question before we move on to the off season. Did you agree with Strasburg as the MVP?
I could have given it to Strasburg, Soto, or Rendon. I could any of them. I would have been okay with. Why? Who did you think should have got it?
I think Rendon should have got it, but my good friend who's a Nationals fan who I worked with yesterday, shout out to you, James, said he would have given it to Adam Eaton, actually, who just had clutch hit after clutch hit, which I also didn't totally disagree with.
I mean,
he just didn't have the biggest numbers,
You know what's great about that is now.
What about Howie Kendrick, by the way? Just the two biggest home runs in Nationals history are both Howie Kendrick, 36-year-old Howie Kendrick.
He does it in what, Game 5 Dodgers in the 10th, and in Game 7 of the World Series in the 7th.
Yeah. That's like one of the biggest home runs in Cubs history is Miguel Montero, who hit the grand slam against the Dodgers at Wrigley Field. So Miguel Montero, who most Cubs fans have long forgotten about, and hit the grand slam to get the ball rolling there. So off season's coming up though, and I think your team is like you said, you're the one that has the most to bring back or to lose.
I think if Strasburg or Rendon leave, either one, I don't think they're leaving like a Harper situation. I think the Nats are going to give them whatever they want. In my mind, it's especially knowing Rizzo. Rizzo will never allow Strasburg to leave unless Strasburg wants to go. Like if he wants to go to San Diego, and I don't think Strasburg leaves unless he goes to San Diego. There's just no way because it's not going to be about money. There's no way the Nats are going to pay Strasburg.
Yeah, he just wants to go home.
That's it. It's the only reason.
But how about his deadline being noon before a 1:00 parade?
Yeah, I know. That's so silly. That's
What the hell?
Baseball for you.
I know.
And then he won't sign a deal for like 4 months or something like that.
Also, probably not. Probably not. Also, well, finally a team just does a parade on a freaking weekend. That way we don't have to clog up the city, when everybody's trying to work. I mean, it's just such a no-brainer to me. Well, you don't have to lose a vacation day. You get to just go, enjoy, and then you get to celebrate after and not have to worry about going to work the next day. It just makes so much more sense.
Being in the area, being in the area of media, a lot more of taking it in more than like a national person.
Unfortunately for the Nationals, they won it the weekend the Ravens played the Patriots. So it was, they won. Everything in Baltimore has just been Ravens Patriots essentially for like 4 weeks now, since the Seahawks came 3 weeks.
Well, look, it's always interesting to find out what these guys are going to do financially, like Rendon. I think also, see, people look at this and go, well, how are the Nats going to afford these guys? Well, let's keep in mind, Strasburg, the money, most of the money was already set to Strasburg. It's already in their budget. They just have to give him a little bit more. They can afford that, and they saved what, $150 million when the difference between Harper and Corbin.
Harper.
So they can use that money and give it to Rendon. I just don't think the Nats are not going to be able to afford it. It's up to look. Maybe Rendon wants to go back to Texas, and maybe Strasburg wants to go back to San Diego. That's it.
I mean, I would be pretty surprised if you don't come back with one of them, at least one of them. If I was a betting man, it would be Rendon is the guy you guys bring back. I mean, again, I'm not saying they're not going to bring back Strasburg, but if it was going to be just one of them,
Why is that? Do
I
you
would.
think he's the most important of the two?
I think that uh, your rotation is already seemingly strong enough that granted he was the MVP and he had a very historic postseason. Did Strasburg? Rendon is I mean he's the quiet guy who has just done everything, and he's taken each year of the last 3-4 years and climbed a little further, climbed a little further, climbed a little further. His fielding's gotten a little bit better, his power's gotten a little bit better, he's even his arms a little bit better. He's just keep climbing. And so right now he is in the absolute prime. He's got about 3-4 years of absolute prime. That, and it's really hard to find a defensive and absolute power third baseman. Like Chris Bryant, one of my favorite players in baseball, doesn't hold a candle defensively to Rendon, and Machado isn't hitting like Rendon, and so I mean you got to have the total package. And third base is a position that in my opinion is what shortstop used to be. Third base, I mean, these guys are in the immediate line of fire of every right-handed hitter, and it shows. Look what happened. Matt Carpenter played third base against you guys, and I mean, didn't single-handedly cost the Cardinals a series, but look at the difference it made when he was playing third base.
Yeah, and Arenado, who has kind of trumped
Right.
Rendon the last few years.
Well, yeah. Well,
It'll be funny because Rendon's probably not going to win the MVP. He's probably not going to win Gold Glove again because Arenado always gets it. He'll probably be shut out of all these awards, and then people will look at that and go, "How did that happen? How did Rendon not get any awards during the regular season?"
So
and let's also keep in mind he plays every day. That's a big deal when you got a player that plays
That's
every
true.
day, except for a
That's
pitcher
true.
who pitches once every 5
That's
days.
true. That's true.
He's
That's true.
also, even though he's the healthiest he's been in his entire career, there's always that thing in the back of your mind: could he have Tommy John again? Could he have another serious injury after the Tommy John?
And for the record, the narrative that this is why you hold him out of the 2000 whatever it was
that's
12
silly.
playoffs,
I don't even know where that came from.
for him to win a World Series 6-7
that
years
was the
later.
plan.
Oh,
Yeah, that was the plan.
yeah.
To win seven
That was.
years later, we want to win the World Series.
I mean, it's like one person tweeted it, and then the entire Nats fan base was like, "Yeah, that's right. That's why we held him out." Nah, get the hell out of here with that narrative.
So I don't know if I know that again Rizzo isn't going to care about it. He'll pay him. He already paid him a big deal a couple of years ago.
I mean, it is pretty crazy just for somebody to be turning down $25 million a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, well,
That's crazy.
You know that.
I mean, he's worth. I guess it's worth more.
He is.
He
you know
is
he'll get
more.
paid more. You know it.
Will get paid more, but it's just so crazy to think like, wow, that's not enough. Wow, 25. I mean, it was pretty obvious going into the postseason, and then certainly after the first start in the World Series that that was going to happen.
And Eaton's performance and the fact that they won a World Championship with him now
that's totally fine.
It coincides with the breakout season from Giolito. So now instead of having people go, "Oh, you traded Adam Eaton for that guy? I mean, that guy's a superstar." Nobody will be able to say that anymore.
No, I mean I had the same thing with the Cubs with giving up Gleyber Torres. Fine,
Hey,
won a
you
World
won
Series.
A World Series.
Cares?
It paid off.
Who cares?
Absolutely. And so, matter of fact, of course, Chapman. Speaking of free agency, he gets the new deal. I was initially surprised that he opted out, but we know why he opted out. Sort of like what I think is going to happen with Strasburg. You opt out, you're going to get the extra money. That's really all that's about. And I was looking at the free agent pitchers, and it is amazing that there are. I mean, there's like nobody. There's like Will Smith and Will Harris. That is it for free agent pitchers. So it shows you how important these guys are.
Bullpen guys.
It shows you. It's incredible. If you get a good reliever. And I'll tell you the one guy that's available right now that I would give just a couple of more million that may not get a blockbuster deal. As a matter of fact, I know he's not going to get a big deal, but I would give him a little bit extra. I would overpay him because I got a feeling he's going to put together a nice little run here is Pomerantz.
Okay.
So I don't think Pomerantz going to get a huge reliever deal, but I get the feeling after what I saw from him last year, he tweaked his mechanics a little bit, and boy, did he look good.
Never been the biggest Pomerantz guy, but he's a lefty, and lefties always garner more attention. I mean, look, that's another thing. Another crazy statistic about this World Series was, hey, the Astros left every lefty off the roster, to face Soto, and I mean, it's just like another thing. Like, what are you doing? Like, well, I mean, I guess you want to put your best 25 on the roster, but I mean,
By the
managers
way,
take so much
would you
into.
have pitched to Soto in the ninth, and that when it was 4-2, and he had the two men on and Kendrick on deck?
No.
The base was open. Now I think it was game 2. He went ahead and walked Soto, and it cost him.
Yeah.
I guess maybe this time he went, nope, I didn't do it all year, and I go ahead and do it, and it backfires in my face. Well, I'm not doing it anymore, and it backfired again. So
I mean, it's
anyway.
who knows?
So
yeah.
As far as the starters, not just Strasburg, Garrett Cole, he's the
ton
big
of them.
fish.
There's a ton of.
Where's Garrett Cole going?
I mean, I'd be shocked if it's Houston. I'd be
No,
absolutely
he's gone.
stunned. He said he wasn't an employee of the Astros anymore. I'd be stunned. For the life of me, I don't want to say where I think he's really going to go, but.
Why? You going to say Yankees?
I mean, the Yankees haven't done it in a while since Sabathia going. I guess Tanaka,
do they have the
technically.
money to not go over the tax threshold, which they have said and they have kept to the promise that they would not do?
Yep. It'll be close. I mean, they're going to have to move some things around, but if anybody could pull it off, it's that.
Yeah, because all they'd have to do is trade a high price guy, throw in one of their young studs.
Right, and same thing if the Red Sox trade Mookie.
Is that really a reality? Are we going to see that happen?
If they do, I mean, if this dude comes in to Boston and the first thing he does is trade the darling of the city, I can't imagine Chaim Bloom is thinking that. That's just not smart. But again, he's thinking he's got to get them under the luxury
but
tax.
Isn't that kind of, even though fans would point at him, it would really be
It's more Sam Kennedy.
Yes,
it's Sam Kennedy, the team president, is the one who's saying but he's like not saying they 100% have to do it.
Yeah, if you get a good deal. But in this sport, there's no
trading Mookie Betts, correct. There's no trading Mookie Betts you'd have to get the biggest return of prospects, in my opinion, in baseball history. I mean, this isn't a rental. This isn't nobody does it. I mean, even look what the Orioles got for Machado. Look, I mean, it worked out for the Yankees getting Torres for Chapman, but it doesn't work out that often. I mean, you're talking about a bona fide top 7 player in baseball, probably for the next 7 to 10 years. I can't imagine that's this dude's first move after he got signed. Whatever it was, like a week ago. I just can't imagine that's the first move.
Yeah, because they also have to wait and find out about whether J.D. Martinez. That's going to be something we hear tonight, I believe, right? I think that comes real soon. He's going to either opt out or not.
I believe I thought he did opt out. He opted out. I'm pretty sure. No. I think he hasn't yet. You're right. He has till, I think, tonight. Yeah, you're right.
So if that happens and he does opt out, that makes it a little easier to keep Betts.
Sure does.
So
sure does.
There's no way you could trade Betts if he opts out. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that would be $62.5 million.
I mean, they were even talking about, and I can see this happening, but they were talking also, there's rumors about trading Jackie Bradley Jr.
I mean, what are you going to get for Jackie Bradley Jr. as much as
No, of course. I'm just saying that if you
good defensive
Red Sox fans
outfielder
will be okay with that.
has had like 3 or 4 clutch hits in the postseason, which again doesn't go unnoticed. I'm not saying it goes unnoticed, but this isn't a guy that gets you into
Yeah,
the
it's sort of like
playoffs.
Michael A. Taylor, who comes up with some seems to hit better in the postseason than he does in the regular season, and plays
Yeah,
good
well,
defense.
I don't think Michael A. Taylor's future in DC is very long either.
Well, I guess if he could be a tradable asset,
I mean,
and he's not going to
yeah,
start over Robles. So if you're
he's never gonna
no,
start.
that's not going to happen. And I don't know how
No.
much longer Eaton's going to be there because then there would be an opening in right field. But he'll probably be there another year or two. All right. As far as the other pitchers, you've got first of all, if the Yankees don't, if it's not so obvious, Yankees Dodgers, then you would think it's California, and you would think that it's probably between Anaheim and San Diego.
Well, Joe Madden is going to demand something in terms of a
Pitching,
pitcher.
correct.
Yeah, no, Joe Madden is, I mean, he's coming from a staff where he had Lester, Hendricks, Hamels, Darvish, he had guys that he could trot out every game, and he never thought they were throwing away a game with who he had. And then that's the way it was for him for 4 or 5 years. So, you know, Bumgarner, he's out there, very high on the list,
Yep.
lefty. But and I can't imagine him going to the Dodgers,
No.
where he's had some
No.
spouts with Max Muncy. So
No.
why not stay in California, go pitch for the
Yeah.
Angels? I mean,
Stay away from the National League, which is
yes,
fans will
yes,
be okay
yeah.
with that.
But he likes to hit, though. He does like to hit.
But then
So
then you're
I mean,
talking like I don't know, maybe the Phillies or something. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on
the
because the
Phillies,
Phillies need pitching.
yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah, well, sure do. Another the biggest non-Strasburg Garrett Cole right-hander I have on my list is Odorizzi, who had a pretty good bounce back season, All-Star in 2019. He's really good, but a lot of the pitchers, lefties, Keuchel's back out there, Ryu is back out there, and there's another one too, Hamels is out there. Now Hamels is pretty old, but he's still clearly effective uh, if he's
Yeah,
healthy.
like
So
Ryu and Keuchel and Hamels, they all have to be 1 year guys.
at this point, Ryu, I could see 2-3 years, but Keuchel, Hamels at this point, it's got to be one
And
year.
thank you for saying Odorizzi and leaving Zach Wheeler out. Thank you. Because if I have to hear Zach
I
Wheeler
mean,
being thrown into this mix of top 5 starting free agent pitchers,
I mean,
look, he's got talent. I'm not saying he doesn't, and maybe if he leaves New York, he'll blossom. But stop
sure. I
talking
mean,
about him as some great pitching
and
prospect.
he's and remember, I think he'll turn 30 next season. So it's not like he's the 26, 27
Yeah.
year old, you know? I mean, you're looking at he's the same. He's a year younger than Strasburg and the same age as Cole. And look what those guys have accomplished
Exactly.
compared to him.
Yeah, that's the point.
It's just,
So yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I've seen him way ahead of Ryu on
oh
lists,
yeah,
and
Ryu.
he's never
I wouldn't
had
trust him.
even a remotely close. He's never had remotely as good of a season as Ryu just had
Yeah,
this year.
I would much rather give.
Ryu's going to finish top 4 in the Cy Young this year.
Well, his second half was pretty bad, and that would scare me.
I know, but he's still the overall. It would, but the overall numbers
what
are.
did he throw? He had 182 innings pitched, okay, which is okay, but it was the most he's pitched since 2014. This guy does not pitch deep to give him a lot of money, and I'd rather give Hamels or Keuchel 1 year than give him 2.
Yeah.
That's the way I'd see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So as far
Sure.
as the hitters, now Grandal, remember he turned down that 40-year deal with the Mets last year because he wanted.
I've seen him higher than I expect to. I mean, remember, Yasmani Grandal was a guy that the Dodgers in the playoffs consistently started Austin Barnes over.
I know.
So
He had a
that
nice
holds
year.
a lot of weight to
He
me.
had a nice
That
year, but
that's fine. That's fine. But that holds a lot of weight to me. That's why I think Rendon, and we're talking about maybe not the length of the contract, but on a per year dollar amount, will make, in my opinion, more than Manny Machado, because look what he just
What's
did in the
Machado making?
playoffs. 10 for 300.
Yeah, 10 though. I see Rendon. How old's Machado?
No, but Machado's 27, I
Right.
believe,
So we'll
27.
say 7
So
for Rendon.
7 for Rendon, something like 210,
No,
somewhere
no,
around there.
no, it'd have to be more because the Nats offered him a 210. So
Okay, then
you
there you
know
go.
what?
240, 250 maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Between 250 and 3. 7 years.
I don't know if he's getting 3 for 7. That's a bit much, but
You
we'll see.
never know.
We'll see. That's what I call Mike Trout and Mike Trout alone
Hey,
money
Texas
right now.
Rangers, some desperate team that with money might just give it to him.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, well, those AL West teams want that guy to compete with Mike Trout, so you never know.
Right. What about how about your boy
I've seen
Castellanos?
Castellanos. I love him. I really hope the Cubs bring him back. He is literally a doubles machine, and he can play, a lot of positions. So to me, he's a great Cub. He can steal bases. I really like him. I've seen him in and around the Marcell Ozuna. Those are the two, 28-year-old, 29-year-old outfielders that are going to be the biggest problem with Ozuna is he can't throw the ball anymore. But if he goes to an American League team where he could just DH and then occasionally play outfield, I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best power bat available, in my opinion.
Speaking of the Cubs, you okay with the whole Ross thing?
So I had this conversation with a few people. It's a very interesting move that he's going to have to be the guy. He was pretty much John Lester's best friend and personal catcher for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years of his career. And now he's going to have to be the guy when Lester is pitching poorly to go take the ball from him. So that'll be interesting the first time that happens. But I like it. I wanted him. I wanted him more than Girardi. I wanted him more than certainly Carlos
Where was his
Beltran.
experience, by the way? Does he have any?
No, no, he was
have there been managers?
He was on Wednesday Night Baseball. He was the
right.
ESPN analyst with John Shambi on
Right.
Wednesday Night.
Maybe A-Rod could be his bench coach. So have there been any stories of successes as far as Major League Baseball managers that have no experience that have done well?
I believe Matheny came right up and out of nowhere. It was pretty solid, if I have to say so myself.
Okay.
New manager of the in-state rival.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's others. I mean, Ausmus didn't do great. Uh, there's definitely others. I mean, for sure. Dave Roberts never had any. He just came in and took that job. So there you go.
How about Donaldson? What would you do with Josh Donaldson?
I'm not touching him. The injuries are.
Atlanta could just give him another 1-year deal. Don't they have a good prospect in the waiting?
So yeah, well yeah. So Donaldson Donaldson and Edwin Encarnacion are my two you shouldn't touch. Okay. I know
not do well in the postseason.
I mean,
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
Not great.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, because we know Edwin didn't do very well.
He was fine. But he wasn't great.
Okay.
So those are my I don't want to touch guys. Like I said, my biggest my biggest bat. Austin Riley is the guy, by the way, who is the prospect who came up and was playing outfield, but he's an infielder. My biggest, again, the biggest bat for an American League team has to be Ozuna. Grandal, because catchers are so rare to find a good catcher, but again, his postseason track record is not fantastic. So those two guys are huge bats. And then again in the outfield, And a guy who we haven't even talked about yet, who does deserve some bit of talking about, is Puig, who is still under 30 years old. So he's somebody worth mentioning. And then obviously the shortstop Didi Gregorius, because the Yankees can't keep all their 95
No.
infielders.
Yeah, you would think that he's definitely got to go somewhere else, especially if the Yankees want to spend a little money in pitching, starting pitching, which is really where they got to put their money. Uh,
Yeah.
so Azuna, what happened to Azuna? Why did he have some significant injury that I'm forgetting of? Why he
Uh,
all of a sudden has not been a better defensive outfielder over the recent years?
I can't remember what year it was, but he had a shoulder surgery, 2000, after it was after last season. I thought it was 2017. After last
Okay,
season, he had a shoulder
all right.
surgery.
So American League, you would think Azuna,
It got it. I mean, again,
DH.
The Cardinals need to take a look at their defensive
Oh yeah.
situation and change a lot
Oh,
of things.
Martinez has either got to look he has to be. You can't have him. He has to be in there. Trade him. That dude cannot play the outfield.
No,
And your first base
another
situation is taken.
another guy that 100% belongs in the American
Yes.
League. There's just guys like look what happened. I mean, Manny Ramirez is one of my favorite examples of this of all time, and he even played in the field for the Red Sox. That dude had no business playing in the field. If they didn't have Ortiz, he wouldn't have played in the field.
All right. What about Mustakas?
I like Mustakis, and another solid, good defensive third baseman. Obviously, this is so last year. Obviously, this isn't my this. I didn't. I'm not making this up. I saw it somewhere the other day. Last offseason was the offseason of
Oh yeah.
waiting. We had to
Oh, we
wait to
talked
see what was going
about
to
it. We
happen.
couldn't believe he was still available.
It was everybody was still available. It was everybody was just waiting and seeing what was going to happen. I think Mustakis is the kind of guy that could go earlier rather than later to set the tone. Because okay, Mustakis is going to get what 4 years for 110. Okay, so now we can figure out what we're going to give, you know, Rendon, stuff
Hey,
like that.
well, if
So
Rendon winds up going, the Nats can give Mustakas a 1 or 2 year deal.
I think Mustakis would be fine. One or 2 years, something like 32, 35 million, somewhere around there for 2 years. I mean, I think he'd be
Yeah,
thrilled.
because what's going to happen is with the Nats, if Rendon stays, then Keyboom becomes their opening day second baseman. If Rendon leaves,
How do you feel about that?
oh, that's perfectly fine. I love that because the kid got his taste. He didn't do well. That's okay. He still got his taste. He went back down. He murdered the ball all year. He's going to be an excellent player. I can't wait. So, look, if you can put Keyboom, Turner, and Rendon in your infield for the next several years, I mean, come on. So,
And that's another reason to what I said earlier, that if somebody told me only one of them is going to stay, you have to guess
yeah.
who. I would go with Rendon.
But if Rendon does leave, then they can decide: do they sign Mustakas and keep Keyboom at second, or maybe they just move Keyboom to third and keep Kendrick at second? Because I don't know. I guess if Kendrick wants to keep playing, I do not see him.
Who are you? Who are you to say no?
No,
You can't
exactly.
play.
Kendrick, they're not going to
Exactly.
say no
That's
to hey, okay, you want to play here? You can play at second base. No problem, because he ain't playing the outfield anymore. So,
true. I mean, and another guy who, if we're being totally honest, kind of belongs in the American
yeah,
League.
sure, absolutely.
He's got the bat. So but I would be. I mean, I think you would be pleasantly happy,
Oh yeah.
um, if you had to play him, 110 times a season.
Yeah, and
So
it's funny because with the situation with LeMahieu, I remember when the Nats had LeMahieu in, and the only reason that LeMahieu signed with the Yankees and never signed with the Nats wouldn't give him 2 years. That was it. The Nats figured.
how sad is
The
that?
Nats figured that we're gonna have Keyboom move into second.
Yeah.
We only need a 1 year guy.
Yeah.
Keyboom wanted 2 years. I mean, LeMahieu wanted 2. He goes to the and he starts tearing things up over there. Dozier's batting 220 all year.
What do you mean starts tearing things up? This dude has won 3
Well, I'm
batting
just saying
titles.
that nobody believed it because it was Colorado. So he goes, he does it for real, and it just astonishes. And then, of course, he has the home run to tie things up in Game 6 against Houston, and all for naught. So, but yeah, those are the things that sometimes they get by you, and it winds up really killing you. Sometimes, hey, you kind of wipe your brow and go, "Glad we got away with that one," and still won the World Series without him. All right. Anyway, so look,
Sorry, only one batting title for LeMahieu. I had to fact check myself there, but two runner-ups. That's I had to be sure.
so give me a blockbuster deal that
Oh,
because
jeez.
Mookie Betts is going to be the obvious one, but throw Mookie Betts out of the equation. Give me a blockbuster deal that nobody's thinking about, and I'll let you go. And while you're
And
thinking about it,
nobody's.
just so everybody knows, yes, even though it was my team, I think everybody knows as a handicapper, I am no homer. But I did have the Nationals at 33-1 on June 24th, and that was what? Yeah, it was about a month after they started to make up some ground. And
Figure out the 19 and 31 fiasco.
yeah, and
Which another thing I've heard over and
oh, I
over
mean
and over.
that's I mean by the time we got to Game 7, yeah, that was something that I think most anybody who watches baseball will now be able to remember that 10 years from now. Oh, I remember when the
Yeah.
Nats were 19 and 31 back in 2000. You know how I remember that? Because it was embedded in my brain for several weeks.
For 17 postseason
I
games.
forget. So anyway, so we're able to make some people some money this year on our baseball handicapping. Okay, so give me a trade that it could be a blockbuster that we're not thinking about. When are the winter meetings, by the way? That's next month, right? December?
Yeah.
So give me that blockbuster winter meetings. Nobody expected this to happen.
I just need. I got to give you like one person that's gonna like. I don't need to like
sure. You
come
don't-
up with
no,
a trade,
no.
right?
Just give me the main guy.
All right. Corey Seager.
Okay, that's okay.
I think.
And why is that?
I think.
Who are they fitting in the short?
I don't know. I don't know who they're fitting in the
Didi.
short, but I think. There you go. But I think the Dodgers need to do some tinkering. I think they need to do some
With
tinkering.
specifically what?
But well, first of all, if they lose Ryu, that's a problem. Which I mean, he's almost. I would assume he's
By
gone.
the way,
Uh,
would you try and convert Kenta Maeda into your closer?
no.
You think because he's only like a high 3 ERA starter. He's like their fourth starter.
And I mean that is the closers these days are converted starters.
Yeah.
It is a new trend, and I enjoy the trend.
Absolutely. That's why I was thinking he pitched so well in the bullpen that maybe that would be the way to go. You know, if you're the
Sure.
Dodgers, because they obviously
So-
don't trust Jansen anymore.
Well, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So the Dodgers are at the point where I think they're past the we can make the World Series, 3 of the next 5 years. I think that's over. I think we've seen. I mean, he's still as good as he is. I think we're seeing Kershaw is going to start his downswing. They're going to lose Ryu. Jansen's not what he used to be. I mean, yeah, you got Bellinger coming up, who is an awesome, outstanding player. You got a lot of really good pieces around him, but some of your big names are starting to dip. You got a guy like Corey Seager you could still get a whole lot for and get like 3-4 young pieces. There you go.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So
Then-
Corey Seager,
then go-
you heard it here
and-
first.
And go sign Didi Gregorius
Put him at short.
for 2 years
Feel
for
like a Nomar.
38. Hey, I was 3 for 3 in my calls at the Ravens game last night. By the way, like exact calls of plays, even to the point where I saw Earl Thomas back, going back at safety, and I was like, I think Earl Thomas is going to pick this ball off, and he did. There you go.
That's a diehard Ravens fan right there.
Nostradamus up here.
Ravens
Nostradamus.
Damus. Yes.
Nostradamus.
Just make sure that Lamar Jackson understands how he's most effective, and you'll be fine. Soon as he gets it in his head, he needs to run. then the Ravens would be that much better.
Hey, you know another statistic I was sick of hearing that Bill Belichick was 24-0 against quarterbacks in their rookie or sophomore
Oh,
year.
really? Okay.
Gone,
Well, they'll go
gone.
24-1. That's still pretty effective.
How about I was also sick of hearing that the Patriots 2017 quarterbacks were 21-2, 21-3 now, baby.
The who? What was that?
Actually 21 and
Who was
4.
who was that?
Because Garoppolo, Brissett, and Brady
Ah,
going into this
got
week
it.
were 21-2 this year.
Okay.
And I mean, Vinatieri, unfortunately,
Oh,
we don't have
well,
to
that wasn't his fault.
we don't
That
have to
was
beat the dead.
Sanchez's fault.
Yeah. And then Garoppolo's the only one left. There you go.
All right. Well,
And they're the real
you
deal.
know,
They're the real
we'll
deal.
find out in a very short few weeks because the schedule gets tougher. How real the Patriots are, because now that they're playing tough teams, we'll
Finally
find out
playing
whether
tough.
or not they were a fraud, or if this was just one of their typical losses that they usually lose and look like they're Brady's old and the team stinks and it's over, and then they win another
In the
Super Bowl.
Ravens, my last stat of the day is in Ravens Patriots games that I have attended, the Ravens are 4
Well,
now,
you need to,
including 2
and
playoff
that's as a
games.
fan.
I think I have to. Yeah, as a
Yeah.
fan, I think I've got to go to every single Ravens Patriots game for the rest of the time.
Well,
Steelers, the Steelers, Ravens Steelers games I've been to. Yeah,
Yeah, but
not
you
great.
need to then go to Foxborough in the playoffs.
I've been to Foxborough twice.
Oh,
I've
you
been
have?
twice.
Okay. Well,
I've been
then
twice.
you have to go.
I was at the AFC Championship game that we
Okay.
won before we won the Super Bowl, and I was at the Ray Rice 88-yard play on the first play of scrimmage
All
game
right.
too.
Well, you need to go this year because that's probably where you'll be going. And then there'll be a stat about Belichick against quarterbacks he's
against-
faced in the regular season and then in the postseason. He's probably like
Yeah, I mean,
undefeated.
I might just book my flights and hotels from Miami right now.
Hey, go ahead and do it. Why not? Wait, what? Where? Yeah, there was something. Let me see something before I let you go. There was some crazy stat I saw in one of my books. Where the hell is it? Here it is. Let me see if I can get it. It should be easy because it's alphabetized. Baltimore. Okay, I think it's under Baltimore.
What?
Nah, I wish. Oh, he was a trend, by the way, that worked out for Baltimore. Just so you know, my trend book, my playbook.com. The Ravens were 9-1 straight up, 8-2 against the spread at home after the bye week since 2002.
Oh, there you
And
go.
They won and covered again.
Oh, they didn't just cover.
Oh, they smuggered.
Oh,
So
17 points. Tasted good.
there you go. All right, so that'll wrap it up. Appreciate it as always, Scott. We'll talk in December when we get into winter meetings and we start to. Hopefully, we'll get some deals because, as you mentioned before, last year.
What about some college hoops, baby?
That's true.
State
We'll have
Farm
some college-
State Farm Classic 1,
Tomorrow
2,
night.
3, and 4
Yep.
in the same building tomorrow night. Can't wait, man. It's gonna be fun.
Who's Michigan State? You think who should be the favorite right now? Michigan State.
Yeah, I think so. I actually will be going to Michigan State plays at Seton Hall, which is right now the way they sit 1 versus 12. Next Thursday, I'll be at that game.
Okay, where's that?
And Newark, New Jersey.
All right.
A thrilling city where you have to, keep your head
Oh,
down and walk
I
quickly.
know. I never understood that. How they put those. The Devils play there, right?
That's where the Devils play.
That still doesn't make any
Luckily,
sense to me.
luckily the train station is a block away from the arena,
So you gotta
but the
run.
train station might be the sketchiest place of
Yeah,
them all.
That's true. That's
Oh
true.
God.
And you heard it here, okay? Rutgers basketball. This is the year, postseason, baby.
Oh come on.
I said postseason. I didn't say necessarily the NCAA,
what are they-
but postseason.
What are they gonna pay to play in the CBI?
You'll see. You'll see. You keep joking.
I thought that was for
You
mid majors.
keep
Hey,
joking.
Maryland's number 7 in the country. The Mark Turgeon campaign of his life begins tomorrow night against Holy Cross.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Why do I say that? Because Mark Turgeon's got to figure out a way to get something done.
Okay.
He's one of the top recruiters in the country. X's and O's, not great.
Well, talent's there. Roster.
Talent? Oh my God. They're not number 7 in the country for nothing to start the season.
Okay. Well, but like you said, X's and O's.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Rutgers will play Maryland. Maybe they don't usually play very
You're,
often. They play
you're,
like once a
you're
year.
out. You're out of your mind.
You will see. You will be taught a very hard lesson, my friend.
What are their odds to win the Big Ten? I'm
Win the
curious.
Big Ten. Now we're getting a little carried away.
700, 700 to
Yeah,
1, something like that.
you think Maryland is going to win the Big Ten? Come on now.
They certainly have significantly better odds. I mean, Maryland's the number 2 team in the Big Ten,
All
probably.
right. Well, we'll see how that lasts.
It's close. Maryland. I mean, obviously Michigan State's number 1, but Purdue, Maryland, pretty close.
Purdue. Then I guess Maryland has a shot. Well, look, Purdue.
There you
Purdue
go.
lost. What's his name? Where did that kid go? Purdue's top shooter last year. Where is
Uh, Carson
he?
Edwards,
Where did he go?
somewhere in the NBA.
Is he?
Gotta be.
I mean, guys like
he was
that. The
drafted,
NBA.
he was drafted in the first round. Celtics.
Oh, he's at the Celtics. Okay. Yeah, the NBA.
there you
Sometimes
go.
I mean, I watch some of these, and I see these guys, and I was like, "Who are these guys?" I've never even heard them play in college before. I think guys like Carson Edwards, or just players like that, and then they're such good players in college and in the NBA, and they're like, they can't even make the NBA.
Come on, man.
Weird
Aaron
sport to
Kraft.
figure out.
Aaron Kraft, one of my favorite college basketball players.
Okay.
The Thief. I mean, didn't make the NBA. Didn't work out in the NBA. There you
Never
go.
know.
Happens all the time. Happens all
Yes,
the
it
time.
does. I'm not sure why, but it does. All right, that's it. Scott, we'll talk.
Good baseball talk.
Yeah, well, we did about a half hour on that. So we'll talk some college basketball soon, and definitely get back into baseball in December. So appreciate it, Scott. And once again, we'll sign off for 2019 as the Washington Nationals,
Congratulations.
the champs, baby.